Yo, what we're saying, team? Hope we are good. Um, so over the last couple of months, we've had a couple of us saying that we're getting some shin splints. What's the cause of it? How do we prevent it? So I thought this training would be pretty ideal timing. So I've recorded me running on a treadmill just so that we can actually see where we want to strike the floor with our foot. So we always talk about um, like 4 foot pressure. So typically, developing shin splints and getting shin splints when you're doing it tends to happen when we're overstriding. I've not really seen any sort of cases or anything like that you get shin splints just because you've got like bad knees. It tends to be bad technique, bad foot placement, bad ground striking. So I thought I'd put this little training together just so you can actually see so you can see where we should be striking the floor, right? When we're running, we want good 4 foot striking. So the ball of our foot, we want to be making contact with the ground, not our heel or not our toes. I think someone mentioned before that we want to be running up on our toes. We definitely don't. You're going to fucking cramp up your calves then. If we're heel striking, then we're overstriding. So we need to slow down our cadence a little bit. Or not slow down our cadence, increase our cadence. So I have more strikes with the floor per minute. So we'll go shorter strides then. And we typically want to make sure that when our foot, I'm actually going to slow this right down, when our foot makes contact with the floor, that's it's under our body. So it's right in line with our body. It's so our hip, knee, and foot or ankle, if you will, are pretty much in a line so that we can get good knee drive from that contact with the floor to push us forward. All right. So again, we need to think about running technique. And I think we're never actually taught how to run and how to run effectively and efficiently, are we? We're taught how to swing a golf club, we're taught how to kick a football, we're taught how to pass a rugby ball, we're taught how to shoot a basketball, all these things. We're taught how to swim, but we're never actually taught how to run. We take our first steps when we're a baby, then we just quicken up that cadence and we get a little bit faster on our feet, right? That's the progression of how we get to running. Unless we're a track and field athlete, we're never actually taught it, right? So we need to make sure that if we are overstriding, I'm going to try and just nail this here. So if we are, you can kind of see, it's not the best, but you can kind of see that everything then, like the contact with the floor, my contact with the floor is then right under my hip every single time. And I used to be someone who used to overstride all the time. I used to get really, really bad shin splints because I used to think, the less contact with the floor, the better it's going to be. No, we want to actually speed that cadence up. So for anyone who's experiencing shin splints, what we can do is look at your cadence. If we're typically you're probably around that 160, 165 cadence mark per minute. I would actually try and speed that up. I would actually try and get to 170, 175 or 180, 185, something like that. 185 would be at the kind of higher end. But you want to try and make more contact with the floor per minute. Shorten up your strides. Look at 4 foot pressure rather than on your toes or on your heels, and just try and get that 4 foot when you're making contact with the floor to be right under your hip or as close to under your hip as you possibly can. And that's then going to prevent you from doing or from getting any sort of shin splints. And another thing that we can actually do as well is stretch and strengthen like your tibia muscles. So like tibia raises and things like that are always going to be good. More kind of static stretches when your knees right over your toe is always going to be good. But what I'm actually going to do in this video is in the comments I'll actually link or in the description, I'll actually put in a link to like a YouTube short. And it's a couple of stretches that I like to do pre-run. Especially like my harder effort runs, like my threshold runs or like my speed work. I'll typically do those stretches before I go in for the session, just to kind of loosen things off and just to prevent any sort of like knee pain or shin pain or anything like that. But that's what we really want to do. With the contact with the floor, we want to make sure it's 4 foot pressure, not on our toes, not on our heels. If we are heel striking, and again, the best way to know how good your cadence is by looking at like your smartwatch or whatnot, looking at that cadence, and then doing recording a video like this, so you can actually see where you're making contact with the floor, and then we can make the adjustment from there. So again, I just thought I would put this short little video together to make sure that we know exactly what we're needing to do when our cadence is a little bit off, and how to prevent getting shin splints, because there's nothing worse than going for a half marathon, a 10K PB, or even in high rocks, and you're getting shin splints because we're overstriding. Again, quicken up the cadence, 4 foot striking, not on our heels, not on our toes. Make sure that the contact with the floor is somewhat in line with our hips, and that's going to prevent us from getting shin splints. It's actually going to make us a more efficient runner because we're then getting good knee drive and things like that. All right. Hope this one helped, team.